Transparency in funding political parties. This is today's topic. So, in today's Hindu newspaper, page number 11, we had an article saying unknown sources funding political parties. So, under this article, there is an NGO, non government organization called ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms. This is an NGO. This NGO has made a report. It has made a report saying that 54% of the income for the regional parties is from anonymous donors, unknown sources. So 54% of the funds which the regional parties are getting is from anonymous donors, unknown sources. 54% is coming. So in this context, we'll try to discuss what is the importance of transparency in funding political parties and how we can achieve it. So first of all, to begin with, why is transparency required in funding of political parties? There are some reasons. Example, let us imagine a criminal funding a political party. And if that political party wins the elections and comes to power, then definitely that party will have an obligation to serve to the needs of that criminal, right? So this is one of the major challenge if we don't stop unknown sources funding to the political parties, some of the risks that are associated. So some of the challenges are, the first thing is money laundering. See, if we don't trace exactly how much amount is going from which person to the political party, there are high chances that this channel can be used to convert black money into white money. Because there is no transparency, there is no need for transparency. This funding for political parties can be used for money laundering. So that is the first reason why we need transparency in political funding. The second one is there is high chances of quid pro quos. Like we have discussed, there can be an unholy nexus. That means there can be a unholy connection that can be established between the political parties and the private people or the private corporates who are funding this political party. As these private parties are, as these private companies are funding the political parties, definitely the party which comes to power has to be obligated to do some favors to the people who have given funds to the party. So this is known as quid pro quo. Quid pro quo is basically an arrangement between the government and the private individuals or the private corporates for mutual benefits. So this is an unholy nexus between the politicians and the private individuals, right? So quid pro quo is the second important challenge why we need transparency in political funding. The third important point is impact on governance. As we have discussed, if the ruling party takes funds from anonymous sources who are basically doing illegal activities or are criminals or doing money laundering, such kind of activities from those sources, if the parties get the funds, then we can imagine definitely it has an impact on the governance of the country also. Definitely they may not be abiding by the law, they might be doing some favors or they might be doing some relaxations, or the criminals might be going scot-free just because they have given funds to the parties. So there will be impact on the governance. This is the third important challenge. And the fourth one is, as we know, there will be a shift from government of the people to government of a few. Definitely the private individuals and the illegal activities, these kind of people will be influencing the government policies. Rather than government being a body for the people, of the people and by the people, it will be representing only a few people. It will be serving only a few people's interests. So this should not happen. That's why we need transparency in political funding. And the last reason is sovereignty. There are also high chances that from the foreign sources, funding might come to the political parties, and these foreign sources are expecting the country to do some favors to the other countries. So in this way, the government might take some decisions which are not beneficial to our country, but to other countries, just because we are getting funds from those sources. So all such kind of obligations will come on the government. So for stopping all these things, we need transparency in political funding. Now, what are the two main problems in ensuring transparency? The government has taken significant steps towards it, but still there are two important problems because of which we are not able to have transparency. The first one is cash donations. In the present legal framework of India, cash donations up to 2000 are still acceptable to the political parties for funding. So whenever this cash donations is there, government cannot trace the exact value of transactions or the exact amount of transaction which is taking place, because the government is not a part of this transaction. Because when a cash transaction takes between a private individual and a political party, unless the political party discloses it to the Election Commission of India, no one would be knowing how much amount the private individual has given to the party. Now this is the major flaw here in the present system. Because of the cash donations, the government has no picture of how much money is being circulated during the elections. This is the first important problem. Tracing cash transactions is a major hurdle. That's why we are not able to ensure transparency. The second one is improper auditing. Like there is a law called Representation of People's Act. This is the law that governs the electoral system in our country. Under this act, the political parties are obliged to submit their audit reports to the Election Commission of India. Even during the elections and even every year, they have to submit their audit reports, how much money they are getting, how much money they are spending, what are the sources from which they are getting the money, what are the different areas where they have spent it. All this audit has to be submitted to the Election Commission of India. Unfortunately, only few political parties are doing that. So this is the second major hurdle in ensuring transparency. And Election Commission of India doesn't have strict powers to take action on such political parties. That is also a major reason, right? So these are the two important problems. We are not able to trace and track the cash transactions. The second challenge is improper auditing. Auditing is not proper. So now, in this direction, the government has taken a significant step to remove black money and bring in some transparency in funding process. That is electoral bonds scheme. Electoral bonds scheme. Now we'll try to analyze this electoral bond scheme with respect to prelims and mains perspective. Now actually, what is this electoral bond scheme? This electoral bond is an instrument. It is just a mechanism through which individuals and corporates can fund the political parties. It is just a mechanism through which individuals and corporates can give the funds to the political parties. Then what is the difference between this mechanism and the previously existing mechanism? The major difference is now the private individuals and the corporates will be funding the political parties through the banking channel. Through the banking channel. Now this electoral bond is issued only by those banks that are authorized by the government. For example, in the present scenario, only SBI Bank is authorized to give this electoral bonds. So the process is the private individual has to request for a bond and deposit his money to the State Bank of India, and then from the State Bank of India, the political parties have to collect it. So in this way, we are able to ensure that there is one intermediary, that is the government. Now the government can track all the transactions. Previously, this was not possible, right? So now this is broadly electoral bond scheme. Now what are the benefits? As we have already discussed, proper accounting will be there. Previously, we had no track of how much money is being transferred and it is being circulated. But now, up to some extent, better accounting is there. How much money the individuals are transferring to the parties, up to some extent we can assess it. So better accounting is there. And the second thing is black money is almost removed. Black money, there are good chances that black money can be removed from the system. That is how, because the money is going through the banking channels, you cannot transfer black money through it, right? So black money up to some extent can be reduced. And the third one is, in this process, KYC norms are there. Know your customer norms. That means each and every detail of the particular person who is depositing the money to the political parties is known by the bank. So in this case, KYC norms are there, know your customer norms. So hence, money from criminals and money laundering activities can be reduced up to some extent. So third important point is KYC norms are there. And some of the features of this bond is, this bond validity is 15 days. Only up to 15 days, the political parties have the time to collect this bond from the reserve, from the State Bank of India, right? After 15 days, this bond will expire. And also, not all political parties have this option of taking funds through electoral bonds. Only those political parties which have secured at least 1% vote share in the previous elections, only those political parties can use this provision of electoral bonds. Those who have secured at least 1% of vote share in the previous elections, only those parties can use this electoral funds provision, electoral bonds, right? And another controversial provision in this electoral bonds is, identity of the donor is not disclosed. Identity of the donor is not disclosed. Now, one merit or one positive thing in doing this step is that it can prevent harassment of the donor by different political parties. Assume an individual has donated some 100 crores to a political party. Now, if this is known to the other political parties, they will also harass this individual for funds. Otherwise, they might even go to an extent of blackmailing him that if they come to power, they can take revenge on them. So such kind of harassment is possible. To prevent that, identity of the donor is not disclosed in this electoral bond scheme. So this is one positive thing. So these are all the benefits which we have discussed. Proper accounting is there. Black money can be removed. KYC norms are there. Validity is only for 15 days and only authorized banks can give these bonds, and only those parties which have secured at least 1% vote share only can use this. So fraudulent political parties can be removed. Those parties which are bogus parties, they were just set up not to contest in elections but only for money laundering, to convert black money into white money. They won't be contesting in elections. Just those political parties are used for routing money and money laundering. Such parties can be removed, right? So all these are the positive things, but then there are equally disadvantages and challenges also associated with this electoral bond scheme. What is the first thing? As we have discussed, identity of the donor is not disclosed in this electoral bond scheme, because of which anonymity is again ending up in the transactions. Now, when we don't know which individual is transferring money to whom, again anonymity is there. But the only difference is now the bank knows, but the bank doesn't disclose it to anyone. No citizen knows how much a private corporate or an individual is paying to a political party. So again, there is anonymity in the transactions, right? That is the first challenge. There is again opacity and anonymity. Citizens don't know the actual transactions. The second one is, there were many relaxations given under this electoral bond scheme. Three most important relaxations which are actually creating problems are, the first one is, in the present existing mechanism, any cash donation exceeding 20,000 rupees, the political party has to disclose it to the Election Commission of India. Any transaction exceeding 20,000 rupees, the political party has to disclose it to the Election Commission of India. But then, how much ever amount that comes through electoral bonds, the political parties need not disclose it to the Election Commission of India. This is a major relaxation that the government has given. Even if it exceeds 20,000, even if it exceeds a huge amount also, whatever money comes through electoral bonds, they are not forced to submit it to the Election Commission of India. They need not disclose it. This is a major relaxation that is given. The other major relaxation that is given is, even the electoral bonds funds which the parties get are exempted from IT Act, Income Tax Act. They need not file income tax returns also for the money which they get through electoral bonds. For the other transactions, they had to produce these IT returns. But for the money which they get through electoral bonds, they need not even file income tax returns. Now, this also brings anonymity and reduces transparency. And the other major thing is foreign contributions. More and more foreign contributions are now welcomed through this electoral bond scheme. As we have already discussed, there are high risks associated with encouraging foreign contributions to the election process. There are high chances that they might impact the sovereignty of the country. But then under this electoral bond scheme, they have even relaxed those regulations so that more and more foreign contributions can come to Indian political parties. And the other major relaxation is previously only those private companies which are making profits for at least 3 consecutive years can only give funds to the political parties. Not all companies can give. Only those companies which were doing good, that means they are doing profit from the last 3 years. Only those parties were allowed to give funds to the parties, right? Only those companies. But now, under this electoral bond scheme, any company can give funds to the political parties. There is no limit that they need to do profits. Such kind of restrictions are not there at all. So this is also a major relaxation that is given by the government, and this also has a huge impact on the transparency in funding. So this leads to propping up of shell companies. Shell companies are those companies which are set up not for producing or for making profits. These are companies that are simply set up for converting black money into white money. So such companies can now be used to fund the political parties. When there is no restriction that whatsoever profit the company make, they are able to transfer funds now, which is not possible previously. So this leads to again money laundering and reducing transparency in the funding process. So these are some of the challenges with the electoral bond scheme. And also, if we analyze in detail about the electoral bond scheme, we have discussed also only those political parties with at least 1% vote share in the previous elections are allowed to use these electoral bonds. But then we can think of this in the other way also. Does this really ensure free and fair elections? Does it create a level playing field for all the parties? What about the political parties which could not secure 1% vote share in the previous elections, but are genuine parties, are working for the good of the people, but they could not get 1% vote share? Now, according to this scheme, they are not eligible to get the funds to electoral bonds. Now, this electoral bond scheme also is a challenge to creating level playing field to the political parties. Not all political parties have access to the funds. So these are some of the challenges which we have discussed. Opacity is there, identity is not disclosed, IT Act relaxations, foreign contributions more and more can come. For private companies also we have given relaxations, and also they are exempted from IT returns. These are some of the challenges. Now then, what is the way forward? What is the way forward? Now we have to think of some steps so that we can further increase the transparency in political funding, right? So the first thing which we could do is even removing the 2000 rupees cash provision which is existing now. As of now, 2000 rupees cash donations are allowed to the political parties. We have to remove that also. Completely cashless transactions have to be encouraged. And till the cash transactions provision is there, it's very difficult for the government to trace the cash donations, right? So the 2000 cash provision also has to be removed. This is one step which is suggested. And the second one is, in the present legal system, we have limits only on individual election campaigning expenditure. Individually, a candidate has a limit on himself. He cannot exceed that limit and spend during the elections. However, such kind of cap or limitation is not there for political parties as a whole. So as an individual, he has a limit to spend, but as a political party, he does not have any limit to spend. So the second important suggestion is a cap or a limitation has to be brought even for political party expenditure, not only for individual candidate expenditure. A cap or a limit even on political party expenditure. And the third important suggestion is state funding of elections. State funding of elections. Now, this concept is that first we have to cut off all the possible sources for the political parties. Only the government will be giving the money. It will be allotting the money to the political parties. No private individuals, no corporates, no NGOs, nothing. All the sources will be cut off, and only the state would be providing the money to the political parties. So this is another innovative way, which is known as state funding of elections. So the state funding of elections, this was also suggested by a committee. This committee is important with respect to prelims. That is Indrajit Gupta Committee. Indrajit Gupta Committee. This committee has suggested state funding of elections. That means the state itself will provide the funds, or it will allocate the funds to different political parties based on their poll performance. How they are performing in the elections, based on that, the state itself will give the funds. Right? And another important provision is, which even the today's article also suggests, to improve transparency. Even today's article also suggests, that is to bring the political parties under RTI. Now, RTI is a mechanism through which we can improve transparency. We can question the public authorities. Each and every detail we can question. But unfortunately, political parties are not under this RTI Act. So we have to bring political parties under RTI. Then we can get each and every detail of the financial transactions, right? So these are the 4 suggestions. First is state funding. The other one is capping the political party expenditure. Third one is removing the 2,000 rupees cash donation provision. Fourth one is bringing the parties under RTI, right? So these are some suggestions. So we overall analyze this topic. The main motto behind improving the transparency of funding in the political parties is that public trust on democracy will increase. Whenever things are very transparent and a citizen knows each and every detail about a political party and each and every detail of money which is coming, so ultimately transparency increases that public trust in democracy and in government institutions. Definitely a citizen will feel more connected to the government, and his trust on the government will increase. So ultimately that is the long-term aim. So these are some of the important topics under funding of parties. And if we see today's newspaper, one important finding which the paper brings out is that NGO ADR, Association of Democratic Reforms, it says that 54% of the donation to regional parties comes from these unknown sources, right? Out of this 54% of unknown sources, 90% is through electoral bonds. So the electoral bonds do faces some challenges. That is clearly evident from this report. So out of this 54% unknown source, 90% is from electoral bonds, right? So this is one important finding.